The Buried Giant, Chapter 9, Gawain's First Reverie. Those dark windows, for what purpose did God place them on this mountain path before me? Does he wish to test my humility? Is it not enough he watches me save that gentle couple, the wounded boy also, slay a devil dog, sleep barely an hour on dew-soaked leaves before rising to learn my tasks are yet far from done? That horse and I must set off again, not down to some sheltering village, but up another steep path beneath a gray sky? Yet he placed those widows there in my way, no doubt about it, and I did well to address them courteously, even as they sank to foolish insults and throwing clumps of earth at horses' hindquarters, as though horse could be panicked into an unseemly gallop. I gave them not so much as a backward glance, speaking instead into horse's ear, reminding him we must bear all such trials well, for a far greater one awaited us up those distant peaks where storm clouds now gathered. Besides, those weathered women with their flapping rags were once innocent maidens, some possessing beauty and grace, or at least the freshness that will often serve as well in a man's eye. Was she not that way, the one I sometimes remember, when there were stretches before me as much land, empty and companionless, as I could ride on a dreary autumn's day? No beauty was she, yet delightful enough for me. I only glimpsed her once when I was young, and did I even speak to her then? Yet she returns sometimes in my mind's eye, and I believe she has visited me in my sleep, for I often awake with a mysterious contentment, even as my dreams fade from me. I felt the lingering joys of just such a feeling as horse woke me this morning, stamping the soft forest ground where I had lain down after the night's exertions. He knows full well I no longer have the old stamina, that after such a night it is no easy thing for me to sleep but a short hour before setting off once more. Yet seeing the sun already high over the shady roof of the forest, he would not let me sleep on. He stamped his feet until I rose, chainmail complaining. I cursed this armor once more, and again. Has it really saved me from much? A small wound or two at best. It is the sword, not the armor, I have to thank for this abiding health. I rose and observed the leaves around me. Why so many fallen, and some are not yet old? Do these trees ail even as they shelter us? A shaft of sun breaking through the high foliage fell across horse's muzzle, and I watched him shake his nose from side to side, as though that beam were a fly sent to torment him. He had no pleasant night either, listening to noises of the forest all about him, wondering to what dangers his night had gone. Displeased though I was that he aroused me so soon, when I stepped towards him it was only to hold his neck gently in both my arms, and for a brief moment rest my head in his mane. A hard master he has, I know that. I push him on when I know him to be weary, curse him when he has done me no wrong, and all this metal as much a burden for him as for me. How much further will we ride together? I patted him gently, saying, We'll find a friendly village soon, and you'll have a better breakfast than the one you just had. I spoke this way, believing the problem of Master Whiston settled. But we were hardly down the path, not yet out of the woods, when we came across the bedraggled monk, his shoes broken, hurrying before us to Lord Brennus's camp. And what does he tell us but that the Master Whiston has escaped the monastery, leaving his pursuers of the night dead, many no more than charred bones? What a fellow! Strange how my heart fills with joy to hear the news, even though it brings back a heavy task I thought behind us. So Horace and I put aside our thoughts of hay and roast meat and good company, and now we climb uphill once more. Thankfully, at least, we travel further from that cursed monastery. In my heart, it is true, I am relieved Master Whiston did not perish at the hands of those monks and that wretched Brennus. But what a fellow! The blood he sheds each day would make the Severn overflow. He has wounded, the bedraggled monk thought, but who can rely on such a one as Master Whiston to lie down and die easily? How foolish I was to let the boy Edwin run off that way, and now who will wager against the two of them finding each other? So foolish. Yet I was weary then, and besides, I little imagined Master Whiston could escape. What a fellow! Had he been a man of our day, Saxon though he is, he would have won Arthur's admiration. Even the best of us would have feared to meet him as a foe. Yet yesterday, when I saw him meet Brennus's soldiers in combat, I might have seen a small weakness on his left side, or was it his clever ploy of the moment? If I watch him fight once more, I will know better. A skillful warrior all the same, and it would take a knight of Arthur to suspect it, but I thought it so, as I watched him fight. I said to myself, look there, a small lapse on the left side. What an uncanny opponent might just exploit. Yet which of us would not have respected him? Yet these dark windows, why do they cross our paths? Is our day not busy enough, our patience not yet sufficiently taxed? We'll stop on the next crest, I was saying to Horace as we came up the slope. We'll stop and rest, even though black clouds gather and we most likely face a storm. And if there be no trees, I'll sit down right there on the scrubbed heather, and we shall rest all the same. Yet when the road finally leveled, what do we see but great birds perched on their rocks, and they rise as one, not to fly into the darkening sky, but towards us. Then I saw that they were no birds, but old women in flapping cloaks, assembling on the path before us. Why choose such a barren spot to gather? Not a cairn, not a dry well to mark it, no thin tree nor shrub to comfort the wayfarer from sun or rain, just these chalky rocks from which they rose and sunk into the earth on either side of the road. Let's be sure, I said to Horace, let's be sure my old eyes don't let me down, and these are not bandits come to set upon us. But there was no need to draw the sword. Its blade still stinks of that devil-dog slime. No matter, I thrust it deep in the ground before I slept. For they were old women, sure enough, though we might have made good use of a shield or two against them. Ladies, let us remember them as ladies. Horace, now we are finally beyond them, for they are not to be pitied. Are they not to be pitied? We will not call them hags, even if their manners tempt us to. Let us remember that once some among them at least possessed grace and beauty. Here he comes, cried one, the impostor knight. Others took up the cry as I came closer, and we might have trotted through their ranks, but I am not one to shy from adversity. So I brought Horace to a halt right in their midst, though gazing towards the next peaks as they studying the gathering clouds. Only when their rags flapped around me, and I could feel the blast of their shouts, did I gaze down from the saddle at them. Were there 15, 20? Hands reached to touch Horace's flanks, and I whispered to calm him. Then I straightened and said, Ladies, if we are to talk, you must cease this noise. To which they quieted him. But their looks stayed angry, and I said then, What do you want of me, ladies? Why come upon me this way? To which one woman calls up, We know you for the foolish knight too timid to complete the task given him. And another, If you'd done long ago what God asked of you, we would be wandering in the land of woe this way. And yet another, He dreads his duty. See it on his face, he dreads his duty. I contained my anger and asked them to explain themselves, whereon one, a little more civil than the rest, stepped forward. Forgive us, knight. It's long days we've wandered under these skies, and see you in person come riding boldly our way. We cannot but make you hear our laments. Mistress, I said to her, I may look burdened by years, but I remain a knight of the great Arthur. If you'll tell me your troubles, I'll gladly help you as I can. To my dismay, the women, the civil one included, all broke into a sarcastic laugh, and then a voice said, Had you done your duty long ago and slain the she-dragon, we'd not be wandering distressed this way. This shook me, and I cried out, What do you know of it? What do you know of Carrig? But saw in time the need for restraint, and so I spoke calmly. Explain it, ladies. What compels you to walk the roads this way? To which a parched voice behind said, If you ask why I wander, knight, I'll happily tell you. When the boatman put to me his questions, my beloved already in the boat and reaching out to help me in, I found my most treasured memories robbed from me. I didn't know then, but know now, that Carrig's breath was the thief that robbed me, the very creature you were to have slain long ago. How can you know this, mistress? I demanded, no longer able to hide my consternation. For how can it be such vagabonds show a secret so well guarded? To which the civil one then smiles strangely and says, We're widows, knight. There's little that can be hidden from us now. Only then do I feel Horace give a tremble, and I hear myself ask, What are you, ladies? Are you living or dead? To which the women once more break into laughter, a jeering sound to it that makes Horace shift a hoof uneasily. I pat him gently while I say, Ladies, why do you laugh? Was it so foolish a question? And a raspy voice behind me says, See how fearful he is? Now he fears us as readily as he does the dragon. What nonsense is this, ladies? I shout more forcefully as Horus takes a step back against my wishes, and I have to tug him to steady him. I fear no dragon, and fierce though Kerrig is, I've faced far greater evils in my time. If I've been slow to slay her, it's only because she hides herself with great cunning in those high rocks. You rebuke me, madam, but what do we hear of Kerrig now? A time was that she thought nothing of raiding a village or more than each month. Yet boys have grown into men since we last heard of the like. She knows I close in, so she dares not show herself beyond these hills. Even as I spoke, one woman opened her raggy cloak and a clump of mud struck Horus's neck. Intolerable, I told Horus. We must go on. What can these old crones know of our mission? I nudged him on forward, but he was strangely frozen, and I had to dig in my spur to make him push forward. Thankfully, the dark figures parted before us, and I was gazing again at the distant peaks. My heart sank at the thought of those desolate high grounds. Even the company of these unholy hags, I thought, might be preferable to those bleak winds. But as though to disabuse me of such sentiments, the women started up their chant behind me, and I felt more mud flung our way. But what do they chant? Do they dare cry, "Coward"? I had a mind to turn and show my wrath, yet remembered myself in time. Coward? Coward? What did they know? Were they there? Were they there that day that we long ago rode out to face Kerrig? Would they have called me coward then, or any of us five? And even after that great mission from which only 3 returned, I did not then, ladies, with hardly a rest, hurry to the valley's edge to make good my promise to the young maid. Edra, she later told me, was her name. She was no beauty, and dressed in the simplest weeds, but like that other I sometimes dream of, she had a bloom tugged at my heart. I saw her on the roadside carrying her hoe in both her arms. Only lately become a woman. She was small and slight, and the sight of such innocence, wandering unprotected so near the horrors from which I just came, made it impossible for me to ride by, even if I went to such a mission as I did. Turn back, maiden, I called down from the stallion. This before the days of Horus, when even I was young. What great foolishness makes you go that way? Don't you know a battle rages down in the valley? I know it well, sir, she says, and no fear meeting my eye. It's a long journey I've made to come this far, and soon I'll be down in the valley enjoying the battle. Has some sprite bewitched you, maiden? I came from the valley floor just now, where seasoned warriors spew out their stomachs from dread. I'll not have you hear even a distant echo of it. And why that hoe so large for you? There's a Saxon lord I know is down in the valley now, and I pray with all my heart he isn't fallen, and God will protect him well, for I will have him die at my hands only, after what he did to my dear mothers and sisters. I carry this hoe to do the work. It breaks the ground of a winter's morning, so it would do well enough on this Saxon's bones. I was obliged then to dismount and hold her by the arm, even as she tried to pull away. If she still lives today, Edra, she later told me was her name, she would by now be near your age, ladies. It may even be that she is among you just now. How would I know? No great beauty, but like that other, her innocence spoke to me. Let me go, sir, she cries, to which I say, you'll not go down into that valley. The sight from the edge alone will make you swoon. I'm no weakling, sir, she cries. Let me go. And there we stand on the roadside like 2 quarreling children, and I can calm her only by saying, Maiden, I see nothing will dissuade you, but think how remote the chances of your finding alone the vengeance you crave. Yet with my help your chances will improve many-fold. So be patient, and sit a while out of the sun. Look there, sit beneath that elder tree, and wait for my return. I go to join 4 comrades on a mission which, though grave with danger, won't keep me long. Should I perish, you'll see me come this way again, tied across the saddle of this same horse, and you'll know I can no longer keep my promise. Otherwise, I swear I'll return, and we'll together go down to make your dream of vengeance true. Be patient, maiden, and if your cause is just, as I believe it to be, God will see this old lord doesn't fall before we reach him. Were these the words of a coward, ladies, uttered that very day, even as I rode out to face Kerrig? And once we were done with our task and saw I had been spared, though two of us 5 had not, I hastened back, weary as I was, to that valley's edge and the elder tree where the maiden still waited, her hoe in her arms. She sprang to her feet, and the sight of her again tugged my heart. Yet when I tried once more to sway her from her intent, for I dreaded to see her enter the valley, she said angrily, "Are you a false, sir? Will you not keep your promise to me?" So I placed her on the saddle. She held the rein even as she clasped the hoe to her bosom, and I led on foot both horse and maiden down the valley steps. Did she blanch as we first heard the din? Or when on the outskirts of the battle we met desperate Saxons, their pursuers on their heels, did she wilt when exhausted warriors groped across our path, trailing wounds along the ground? Small tears appeared, and I saw her hoe tremble, but she did not turn away. For her eyes had their task, searching that bloody field left and right, far and near. Then I mounted the horse myself, and carrying her before me, as if she were some gentle lamb, we rode together into the thick. Did I look timid then, thrashing my sword, covering her with my shield, turning the horse this way and that, until finally the battle tossed us both into the mud? But she was quickly on her feet, and recovering her hoe, began to tread a path through the mashed and quartered heaps. Our ears filled with the strange cries, but she seemed not to hear, the way a good Christian maid refuses the lewd shouts of the coarse men she passes. I was young then, and nimble of foot, so ran about her with my sword, cutting down any who would do her harm, sheltering her with my shield from the arrows that regularly fell among us. Then she saw at last the one she sought, yet it was as if he were adrift on choppy waves, and though an isle seemed near us, the tide somehow keep it beyond reach. It was that way for us that day. I fought and battered and kept her safe, yet it seemed an eternity till we stood before him, and even then 3 men especially to guard him. I passed my shield to the maid, saying, "Shelter well, for your prize is almost yours." And though I faced 3, and I saw that they were warriors of skill, I defeated them one by one till I faced the Saxon lord, so she hated. His knees were thick in the gore he waded through, but I saw this was no warrior, and I brought him down till he lay breathing on the earth, his legs no more used to him, staring his hatred up at the sky. So she came then, and stood above him, the shield tossed aside, and the look in her eyes chilled my blood all over else to be seen across that ghastly field. Then she brought down the hoe, down with a swing, but a small prod, then another, the way she searched for crops in the soil, until I made to cry, "Finish it, maiden, or I'll do it myself." To which she says, "Leave me now, sir. I thank you for your service, but now it's done." "Only half done, maiden," I cry, "till I see you safe from this valley." But she no longer listens, and goes on with her foul work. I would have quarreled further, but it was then that he appeared from the crowd. I mean Master Axel, as I now know him, a younger man that day to be sure, but a wise countenance even then, and when I saw him it was as if the noise of the battle receded to a hush around us. "Why stand so exposed," I say to him, "and your sword still in its sheath? Take up a fallen shield at last and cover yourself." But he always keeps a faraway look, as if he stands in a meadow of daisies, a fragrant morning. "If God chooses to direct an arrow this way," he says, "I'll not impede it, Sir Gawain. I'm pleased to see that you are well. And you lately arrived, or have you been here from its start? This as if we meet at some fair summer, and I am obliged to cry again, 'Cover yourself, sir. The field remains thick with the foe.' And when he continues to survey the scenery, I say, remembering his question to me, 'I was here at the battle's start, but Arthur then chose me as one of 5 to ride to a mission of great import. I'm only now returned from it.' At last I draw his attention. 'A mission of great import? And did it go well?' 'Sadly, 2 comrades lost, but we accomplished it to Master Merlin's satisfaction.' 'Master Merlin,' he says. 'A sage he may be, but that old man makes me shudder.' Then he glances about once more, saying, 'I'm sorry to hear of your lost friends. Many more will be missed before the day closes. Yet the victory is surely ours,' I say. 'These cursed Saxons, why fight on this way with only death to thank them for it?' 'I believe they do so for sheer anger and hatred of us,' he says, 'for it must be by now word has reached their ears of what's been done to their innocents left in the villages. I'm myself just come from them, so why would the news not reach also his Saxon ranks?' 'What news do you speak of, Master Axel?' 'News of their women, children, and elderly, left unprotected by our solemn agreement not to harm them, Now all are slaughtered by our hands, even the smallest babes. If this were lately done to us, would our hatred exhaust itself? Would we not also fight to the last as they do, each fresh wound given a balm? Why dwell on this matter, Master Axel? Our victory today is secure and will be a famous one. Why do I dwell on it? Sir, these are the very villages I befriended in Arthur's name. In one village they called me the Knight of Peace, and today I watched a mere dozen of our men ride through it with no hint of mercy. The only ones to oppose them boys, not yet grown to our shoulders. I'm saddened to hear this news, but I press you again, sir. Pick up a shield, at least. I came upon village by village the same, and our own men boasting of what they did. Don't blame yourself nor my uncle, sir. The great law you once brokered was a thing truly wondrous while it held. How many innocents, Briton or Saxon, were spared over the years for it? That it didn't hold forever is none of your doing. Yet they believed in our bargain till this day. It was I that won their trust, where first there were only fear and hatred. Today our deeds make me a liar and a butcher, and I take no joy in Arthur's victory. What will you do with such wild words, sir? If it's treachery you contemplate, let's face one another with no more delay. Your uncle's safe from me, sir. Yet how do you rejoice, Sir Gawain, in a victory won at this price? Master Axel, what was done in these Saxon towns today, my uncle would have commanded only with a heavy heart, knowing of no other way for peace to prevail. Think, sir, those small Saxon boys you lament would soon have become warriors burning to avenge their fathers fallen today. The small girls, soon bearing more in their wombs in this circle of slaughter, would never be broken. Look how deep runs the lust for vengeance. Look even now at that fair maid, the one I escorted here myself. Watch her there, still at her work. Yet with today's great victory a rare chance comes. We may once and for all sever this evil circle, and a great king must act boldly on it. May this be a famous day, Master Axel, from which our land can be in peace for years to come. I fail to understand you, sir. Though today we slaughter a sea of Saxons, be they warriors or babes, there are yet many more across the land. They come from the east, and they land by ship on our coast. They build a new village, each by day. This circle of hate is hardly broken, sir, but forged instead in iron by what's done today. I'll go now to your uncle and report what I've seen. I would see from his face if he believes God will smile on such deeds. A slaughter of babes, is that what we were that day? And what of that one I escorted? What became of her? Was she amongst you just now, ladies? Why gather about me this way as I ride to my duty? Let an old man go in peace. A slaughter of babes? Yet I was not there, and even had I been, what good for me to argue with a great king, and he my uncle too? I was but a young knight then, and besides, if he not proved right each year that passes? Do you not all grow old in a time of peace? So leave us to go our way without insults at our back. The law of the innocents, a mighty law indeed, one to bring men closer to God, so Arthur himself always said, or was it Master Axel called it that? We called him Axelum, or Axelus, but now he goes by Axel, and he has a fine wife. Why taunt me, ladies? Is it my fault you grieve? My time will come before long, and I will not turn back to roam this land as you do. I shall greet the boatman contentedly, enter his docking boat, waters lapping all about, and I may sleep a while, the sound of his oar in my ears. And I will move from slumber to half-waking, and see the sun sunk low over the water, and the shore moved further still, and nod myself back into dreams till the boatman's voice stirs me gently once more. And were he to ask such questions as some say he will, I would honestly answer, for what have I left to hide? I had no wife, though at times I longed for one. Yet I was a good knight who performed his duty to the end. Let me say so, and he will see I do not lie. I will not mind him. The gentle sunset, his shadow falling over me as he moves from one side of his vessel to the other, but this will wait. Today horse and I must climb below this gray sky, up the barren slope towards the next peak, for our work is unfinished, and Carrick awaits us.